currently live on Instagram, and I am just waiting for YouTube to pop in as well. YouTube is now also live, which is absolutely fantastic. Welcome to another Tuesday night. We have lots of questions to cover. My inbox has been full, and so I have picked a few that I have also shared. Beautiful, beautiful. I have a bag of tricks, which I brought with me as well. So while we are waiting for everyone to jump on and follow us, hello, everybody. I can see you starting to come in. Jump in the comments where you're viewing in from. And if you have any additional questions for tonight's Q&A, please pop them in the chat and I will try and get to them. Very excited. I brought water this time, so hopefully no more tickle after I have spoken for 40 minutes, which would be great. Excellent, excellent. So I can see a few of you coming in. That's perfect. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what I might do is just jump straight into the rounds of questions that were asked over on Instagram already, and then get to any questions that you guys have on here. So one of our questions, which is how to keep organised during busy times, and that's a great question to start now off. We are currently, I guess, in a bit of a lull in most agriculture industries. The crops are sowed, hopefully they're coming up, and we can now start preparation for the busy periods, whether we start that now in winter if we've got some downtime and some freezer space, or whether we're going to do that a little bit later on. Hello, everybody. Excellent. So I guess one of my main points in keeping organised during busy times is that communication. So keeping communication lines open, whether that's with your husband, whether that's with your work crew, whether that is with the family farm, if it's a family farming operation, making sure that you can get a hold of them either by the phone, by the radio, and have a rough operational plan. So also part of that is knowing your timings. So what I mean by knowing your timings is actually knowing roughly how long it takes each year to do a paddock. So that doesn't matter whether your paddocks are cut down into 80 acres or smaller, or up to a couple of thousand acres. So know roughly how long it's going to take them, one, to plough, to sow, to harvest each paddock on average each year, but also know how long it's going to take for you to get to and from a certain destination. If it takes you 30 minutes to get from the house out to the yards or out to the back paddock, an hour, 2 hours, however big your property is, and it takes you that long to get from your point to them, then that helps with keeping organised as well, because when you're communicating and you're knowing that distance and that timing, no one's waiting for you, because they will go, yep, so they said they're leaving their house now with lunch. Lunch is going to be in roughly half an hour, because that's how long it takes them to get to the house, from the house out to where I am in the back paddock. And also how long tasks generally take you to do as well. If you're the food and beverage manager for the evening, or for the run, you're feeding all the contractors, anything like that, if you can work out your timing, okay, it takes me 10 minutes to do this step, takes me 20 minutes to do this step, then that helps with your organisation as well, because while you're waiting for the next part to happen in a recipe, if you're cooking something in the oven, in the Thermomix, on the stovetop, then you can go, yep, I've got 10 minutes, so I can go and sort a load of washing so that everyone has clothes for tomorrow. So timing is really, really important in keeping organisation. I just keep a running list in my phone, but I also keep like the big points in my calendar, roughly like start and finish points in the season. So they're more dates that I keep on the calendar or rough timings, whereas in my phone, it takes me so many minutes to get the general jobs that I do every day for harvest. That's additional jobs on top of what you already do or you continue to do during those busy times. So I hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask for clarification if it doesn't in the comment section below. So I also wanted to add to that lots of questions about recipes. So whether you're doing slow cooks are fantastic because you can pop them on in the morning and they're ready when they're ready, within, you know, that 10-hour period, or however hot you've got your slow cooker. You can get things done in 6 hours. So if you put it in the morning, it might be ready at lunch if you're doing it on a hot cook. And if it's on the lower setting, it'll be ready for dinner. And usually when it's in the slow cooker, you're not going to burn it because you've either got the keep warm setting when it's ready to go, or the heat isn't enough for you to burn it straight away. It gives you that gap. So if you're caught down in the back paddock running parts, or you know, you're in town still, you've still got that time period to get back to it before it burns. So slow cooker meals are really, really great. I actually think I've got a link for the Woman's Weekly slow cooker. I will try and add that either tonight or tomorrow in the comments, in the video description when we're finished. There is a meal prep book, which I love. It is out this year, and I actually bought my copy here tonight. So this is what it looks like. I do have a copy, a link of it in the description below. Now, I really love Lisa's approach to meal prepping and recipes because it is different to normal meal prepping. Rather than making a massive batch of something and then sticking it in lots of different containers and sticking it in the freezer, which works really well for small portions, and like especially if you're feeding lots and lots of people during busy times like harvest and sowing or shearing, anything like that, then if you can freeze it in great big batches, then that's great. But if you're doing smaller meal prep for a smaller workforce or for yourself and your family, what I love about it most is that she is actually prepping ingredients. So you can do your weekly shop, you prep the ingredients, and then you can have a huge range of different meals that you can make from those ingredients. So it's more about prepping your kitchen, prepping your fridge, prepping all of that. And she goes through like even something as versatile as broccoli. She goes through how diverse that ingredient in your fridge can be. You can make soups with it. You can steam it. You can make broccoli rice with it. You can add it in stir fries, anything like that. And then she also has like broccoli salads. So if you have a fair distance to go from the house or the cooking quarters out to where everyone is in the paddock, and you're not wanting to, you don't have the setup to keep it hot, or you don't want to keep it hot, then something like that salad is still very filling. It's very healthy for you, and you don't have to worry about it going cold, but it's also not your typical iceberg lettuce, cheese, tomato. So it's got some of those mix-ups. She's got hot meals as well, which are really, really great. So I wanted to point that out. I have linked it in the description for today's video. So I'll pop that one down there out of the way. What I also wanted to talk about, linking in recipes and keeping organized in busy periods, it came up in another interview of mine, which actually came out last week with Steph, and I wanted to give a shout out to that because it reminded me that what we sometimes do on a daily basis or a weekly basis when we do our grocery shopping is we buy in bulk and we stick things in our freezer. And sometimes I think we overlook that at how important it is for organization. So you can actually freeze things like milk, butter, cream cheese. If you're freezing normal cheese, like cheddar cheese, make sure it's cut into your slices before you freeze it, because if you pull the block of cheese out and then try to cut it, most of the time it'll crumble. So it's fine if you're going to do shredded cheese or anything like that, that's fine. But if you'd like slices of cheese, cut that cheese first, wrap it in Glad wrap or stick it in a freezable Ziploc bag, and then pop it into the freezer, and that will be perfect for when you need it. You're not going to run out during harvest. You don't have to run to town to be able to get something to feed people because it's all in your freezer. You can freeze milk, lots and lots of products that you can freeze and have in your freezer. You can freeze whole cakes. So during busy periods, or even so this Tuesday coming, we have our annual bull sale on property. You can actually pre-make and freeze cakes. So I currently have 5 40 by 40, so 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter cakes in my freezer. So I will pull those out before the sale, let them thaw, ice them, put the filling in them, ice them, and then cut them up to serve. And your preparation is reduced so that you're not trying to bake and watch cakes in the oven while it's service time, and it tastes just as good. You cannot tell that it has been frozen if it is wrapped correctly before you put it in the freezer. So lots of layers of that Glad wrap. Perfect. So then I also had a question that came through about how you take meals down the paddock. So if you have a moisture-proof bowl, a leak-proof bowl, I wanted to bring this one. So this is one of my new ones. I love Tupperware. Love it, I love it, love it. So this is actually one of the new ones that has just come in. So it's still in the box. I wanted to show you the box of it and what it looks like. So you've got your plastic lid, your glass bottom, and this is actually dishwasher safe. So you can hand wash it, you can wash it in the dishwasher, but it's also freezer safe. So when I can do my freezer meal for busy periods such as harvest, I can actually cook in it. So if I'm making lasagnas or pasta dishes or quiche or anything, I just cook it directly in these. I put a heap of these in the oven all at once, individually prepped, bake it in that, pull it out, let it cool, pop my plastic lid on it and stick it in the freezer. And then when I need it, I can pull it back out, let it thaw, or pull it out and put it straight in the oven. Done. Then when it's recooked, reheated, then I just clip it back up. That's leak proof. It doesn't matter if it falls over in the bag or in the car on the way out to everyone down the paddock. And that is how you get meals to and from without lots of washing up, because you can make, freeze, and reheat it all in the one dish. So this is the Perry Glass collection. It comes in the red lid and the blue lid. They have I think it's a 1 litre and a 1.5 litre. Great for meal prep, great for being organised, and great for busy periods. So I have linked that Tupperware link in the description below. I also wanted to give a shout out to Camilla. So Camilla was in our first series. I think she was Series 1, Episode 6, and that's the series, So You've Married a Farmer, Now What? That comes out on a Thursday, and Camilla actually has an Instagram page, which I've linked, and now a paperback and an e-copy for her Tractor Snacks book. So as part of that, she has meals which are great for taking down the paddock, which are great for busy harvest periods. It's a book designed specifically for that. So between her book, Lisa's book, and these containers, that should be a really great jump off point for keeping busy and keeping organised during busy periods. So I hope that answers everyone's questions who asked about the organisation, who asked about taking meals down the paddock, and who asked about recipes. So I can see more people joining us. Thank you very much for joining today. We've just covered how to keep organised during a busy period. If you want to go back and rewatch that in the replay. But right now we'll jump into the second question, which is about succession planning. So I got asked for my thoughts, ideas on succession planning. And I just wanted to say at the beginning of this one that in season 1 as well, I think it's season 1, episode, I want to say 8, we actually spoke to Claire Booth, and Claire Booth spoke a lot about succession planning, not only for their own business, but her thoughts on that. So if succession planning is something that you are interested in, go back and have a look at that episode of So You've Married a Farmer, Now What? So that is with Claire Booth, and we had such a great chat on that one. I've actually also made it into a top tips video. So you'll find that on the playlists in So You've Married a Farmer, Now What? Season 1, but you'll also find that on podcast if you are listening while you are driving or doing different jobs around the farm, driving distances, coming to town. Her interview is great on that. When it comes to my thoughts on it, I just want to be really clear that it is a very complicated business succession planning. So if every business is different, everyone's take on succession planning is different. And I've written down a couple of little things that I think in general should be applied to succession planning. So one of the first things I wanted to say is you can't start it soon enough. If you have a young family, even like my kids are 3, 2, and 4 months, and we already have a rough succession plan for them, which runs alongside the will, which runs along the state plan. So lots of legislation, lots of bits and pieces. Do get financial advice, do get professional help if it's needed. Make sure that those lines of communication are open. I want to say be very respectful. Not only to your husband, if you've married a farmer or you are a farmer, I think it's really important to be respectful. Be respectful of everyone's outlines. It's a tough conversation to have. No one wants to have a conversation about when they're retiring or when they're dead. And that's unfortunately what a lot of succession plans come down to, is that end of life or that end of an era. And if someone's not ready to talk about retirement or to talk about the what ifs down the track, then being respectful of that. Because if you're trying to have a conversation with that, whether it's your parent-in-law, your grandparents even, an auntie and uncle, they have put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears into their business, into their livelihood, into their life, into the farm. And being respectful of that is really important, because I think without the respect for that, without being mindful of that, sometimes negotiations can go south quickly. It's an asset that is, for everybody, if that's where it's going. And I wanted to say that Cherie Coddington, season 1, episode 10, touches on that for her family as well. So that's 2 episodes of So You've Married a Farmer, Now What, that you can go back and listen to or watch, that may actually cover a fair bit more on succession planning if you're interested in that, than what I can cover here tonight. But I wanted to use that as a lead through question into the next one I want to cover, which is future proofing. So whether that is future proofing through your succession plan or future proofing yourself if that conversation hasn't been had, or it's people aren't wanting to have that conversation or aren't wanting to finalize that. Future proofing, we touched a little bit on last week's Q&A, but I also wanted to come back and give it a little bit more of a touch up on if I knew what I knew now 10 years ago when I moved to the farm. But also from that hindsight of those who I have interviewed and who I have done research with, friends and family, and discussions we've had on this topic. Future proofing is for you. It is for your family, whether you have one now or whether you have one further down the track. So I wanted to talk on building your own assets independent from the farm, which is hard to do if you are only taking income from the farm. We know that if you are lucky enough to be having an income when you're working full-time on the farm, then you are very lucky. If you can save some of that, put it into some additional building assets, then you are very lucky. And that is something that I wish that I probably knew sooner. So those assets, whether that is buying a house, whether you live in it or not, it doesn't matter. You could buy a house in town and put someone else in it who is going to pay the mortgage on that, but you now have an asset. You have someone paying off that mortgage. If further down the track you do need to employ an additional worker on the farm, and it works out with your current tenant, that you can actually offer that as part of the farm package. If you don't have any additional housing or accommodation on your farm or station, then that can be a really good asset to have further down the road. We've got to think further ahead when we think future proofing. We're thinking 10, 20 years down the track. What are we going to do that's going to help us and our family can be separate from the farm, but can also be maybe, we spoke a little bit last session about asset building, like building on the farm. So that part of that in future proofing could also be adding to the farm. But I also got down here whether it's a shed that you buy and you lease out to a local business or a company, whether it is a lease block that you then have cattle on, or whether you buy cattle and look for agistment. Probably look for agistment first. Look for agistment and then put the cattle on that agistment block. They are all different parts where you can value add to yourself, where you could probably value add to the farm, but you can keep that independent and set yourself up with your own assets independent to the farm if that's how you want to work it, and if that's how you want to have future-proofed yourself and your family. It's also it's great to have diverse assets. You can also keep that independent finance. So if you start a contracting company or business and you contract yourself out during quiet periods, whether you're doing a wool run, whether you're doing additional work, if you don't have cropping on your place and it's harvest and you have a harvester, or you want to hire yourself out as a driver to drive someone else's harvester, all that independent contracting each year will add up as well, and that you can either keep in the bank or you can invest in, and that will help future-proof you as well. When you are starting a business, when you are future-proofing that way, make sure that you are doing your books, make sure you do know your numbers, and make sure that it is actually benefiting you and you are not going backwards in finances. And that sort of goes within building a nest egg as well. If you know that you've only got so many years of work left, or so many years of working off farm before you have your family, creating a nest egg gives you independence, gives you freedom, and gives you confidence to be able to raise your family, staying on the farm, staying where you need to be without having to push yourself working away, without having to be away from your kids if that's something that you are worried about or something that you want to do. If you and your partner have a idea of how you want to raise your kids, whether it's on farm or in town, having those conversations and making sure you're creating that nest egg, which is going to be there to take the pain and the stress off when it gets busy. So that is another part that I've also mentioned, and part of, I guess, future-proofing as well that I touched on briefly last week, but I wanted to go into a little bit more depth because I had a lot more questions on this as well, is side hustles. So it's a little bit along the lines of like a contracting business, but side hustles can be done these days from your own home. You can pre-script a lot of things, you can roster a lot of things, you can just go on social media and put in a whole heap of scheduled posts, and you've got time to still be on the farm, still be doing the things you love, still spending time with your kids, and those scheduled posts that you are going to set aside either 1 day a week or 10 minutes a day, you can schedule those posts, put them all in, and they're going to help with your side hustles. So whether you are choosing to do something like become a Tupperware consultant, whether you are wanting to do a Thermomix consultant, if you already have a Thermomix or you already have Tupperware, why not become a consultant in those areas? You're future-proofing, you're getting a side income that's yours, you're investing in your nest egg, you're being able to build finance for your own side hustle, your own investment. These are great opportunities. Affiliate marketing at the moment is just absolutely taking off. The opportunities that we have to build those side hustles online where we're from is absolutely fantastic. So, Tupperware, they have a great product. We use it all the time. We talk about it all the time. It is very helpful. So why not invest some of your time into the products that you love and sell them online? I have more information in the comment section in the description below, but you can also message me if you want to find out more. If it is a side hustle that you want to take on, both for the Tupperware and the Thermomix. I have a Thermomix. I love it. It made sense to sign up as a consultant, to do the 60-day program, and then to be able to get a huge a commission at the end for anything that's sold through the links. So you'll notice in the Rural Mum, on the links that are on the link tree, that are in the YouTube videos, all of that, they're all associate links or consultant links, and they all go back to supporting that future-proofing, that side hustle, that building assets, building your own financial freedom for the farm or for you separately that's going to get you across the end of the line. There is a fantastic opportunity to diversify and to value add in that. And if any of that sounds great to you, then jump down into the messages and send me a message after tonight's live, and I can give you more information on that. So, perfect. And that will work whether you are a young spring chicken who's just moved to the farm, whether you are a mum, whether you are sitting in the tractor and you're doing hours and hours and hours in there wondering, what else can I do where I could be making money? I can be making money in the tractor sowing, I can make money in the tractor harvesting, all of that sort of thing. But what else can I be doing while I'm here watching the plow, while I'm watching the seed run out, while I'm watching everything else that else is doing? But what else can I do in that time to value add? So I hope that all makes sense. So we've covered organisation during a busy period, succession planning, and future proofing. We've mentioned a couple of our episodes for So You've Married a Farmer, Now What? If you haven't checked out that series, it is available on YouTube under the Rural Mum. The link is in the description for tonight's chat. It is also in the link tree, and it is also on the podcast platforms now, which is very, very exciting. That was a project that I was very excited to get up and off the ground. So if you just go into wherever you watch your podcasts and you type the Rural Mum, these series will come up and they are fantastic to listen to. YouTube, if you love a good video, if you love seeing the scenery for some of these beautiful, beautiful interviews we did last week, we had Stefan from Canamble, and we were down on the Canamble River, and it was just picturesque. You can see the birds and the wildlife in the background. You can hear the bird song. So if picture is where you want to be at, then YouTube is your best friend. Jump on, like, subscribe, the Rural Mum. If podcast is what you want to do because you drive the big distances or you listen while you do your housework, fantastic. You can find us and those interviews on any iPad podcast platform that you listen to normally. So you can find that there. It's also in the link tree that's on Instagram and in the conversations that is on YouTube. So excellent. So that brings me to one of my final questions that was asked on Instagram that I thought I would cover tonight, and that is getting your farmer away on holidays. Big question. Hard topic. We all know that it's really hard to get them away on holidays. And so firstly, I wanted to touch on book the holiday. Just book the holiday. Don't book it in the middle of harvest or sowing, but or middle of bull sales. But afterwards, or when you typically have a quieter period on the farm, book the holiday. Tell your farmer, this is when we're going away. This is where we are going. And then get them in the car. That's the hard part. So in some of the interviews that I've already done, again, on our Thursday series for You've Married a Farmer, Now What? Getting them in the car. So two rural mums touch on this in their interviews. So Crystal Mudford from season 1, episode 8, and Jen McHutcheon, season 2, episode 5, which actually comes out this Thursday. So if you haven't heard about the series before and you're wanting to jump on, Jen's is a great one to start with, and then you can go back and watch the others. So they talk about, and what I've done as well, book the holiday, pay for the holiday. Oh no, we have to go, it's booked, it's paid for. Or Crystal also talks about booking a boys trip and then getting the boys come to the farm and pick up your farmer and take him away. It's another way of getting them off farm, and then maybe you can join them at the end of that holiday when you've already got them off farm. Pack the bag, pack the car, and say, see you later, or we're going. One of the other things that I wanted to put in as one of my top tips and tricks is actually to say, we are either leaving late at night or first thing in the morning, very early in the morning, because I do not want him to go, I've just got one more job to do, or I'm just going to check the farm, or I'm just going to check in for the day. Because you can guarantee if they do that, there is going to be a last minute job and you are not going to leave the farm either on time or within probably at least the next hour. So if you can catch them before they go down the paddock, if you can catch them before they come in on the evening and just you've packed, everything's done, get in the car, then that is how you can get your farmer off the farm. Perfect. So they are great tips from both Crystal, Jan, and myself. So I hope that one has answered those questions. It has also been a recommendation from many of the interviewees for our series and for my research that it is great to have an average of 10 days off farm. So a lot of your farmers will know, and you will know yourself, that you work really hard. You do a lot while you're on the land, while you're working, particularly during a busy season. And it takes a few days, particularly if you have kids and you've booked a holiday house and you're still doing the cooking and you're still doing the cleaning and you're still doing the beds and everything else that you're doing. It takes a few days to start settling into the holiday, to start relaxing. And so if you can have a few days off, 10 days off, fantastic for you and your family. And distance. I wanted to add actually distance in as well. Whether you are flying, whether you are driving, you need to make sure that you are either not in mobile service or you are multiple Ks away from the farm, and you have put in a contingency plan that someone is going to look after your animals and your emergency protocols while you are not there. If a pipe breaks, who's going to fix the pipe? Make sure they've either got the number of a plumber or they can do the plumbing. If something electrical breaks, they're going to do that. If they have cattleman experience, if you've got cattle, if you've got livestock and they've got experience and they need to go and get the cattle back because they've broken through a fence or something like that, you need to make sure the person who is there, the person who you're organised, can handle all of that, so that they do not need to call you back to the farm once you have left, and making sure that you go, oh no, I'm 6 hours away. If I come home, will it have been fixed before I get home? What is the chance of something being organised and done before I get home? Because if there is a chance of that, then I'm not going to get on the road and I'm not going to drive 6 hours back to the farm for something to be fixed. I am on holidays and I am going to hopefully stay here on holidays while I'm there. So they're just a couple of tips and tricks for getting your farmer on holidays. Just don't pack lightly. Throw everything you need in, particularly if you're packing for them. If they want to wear jeans, if they want to wear shorts, give them a range. Perfect. And then I had another question, which was about the composting journey. So as I have mentioned in some of my Instagram stories, as well as in some of my other videos and affiliate links, again, I do have Monty Composting. We spoke about this brand last Tuesday as well, and I actually have had a lot of questions about the homesteading journey, becoming more self-sufficient, about the veggie gardens and things like that. I have gone a bit quieter on that now that it's winter, but in spring and summer you will see a lot more of that content, because that is peak season for that, and a lot more recipes and things will be coming out about the tomato chutney, about the relishes, everything that we harvest from our garden and put into our home, and into long-term storage for that. So that is more for us in sort of that busier time for that, which is spring and summer. But the question was, tell me more about your composting journey and how the Monty Prob fits into that. So I'm from Orange, New South Wales originally. It is 2 hours south east of Dubbo, and while that doesn't sound far, it's a huge drop in everything. Like, it's completely different climate wise. So Dubbo is much drier, it is much hotter. And so my composting and everything that I learnt in Orange, probably the same amount like what I learnt doing my orchard and my veggie garden, is very different in Dubbo. And because of that drier, hotter climate. So in Dubbo, I need to water everything, including I've learnt my compost. So trying to get the ratios and getting all your food scraps or your green waste or anything like that breaking down properly can be quite a challenge. And I need to completely redo my compost, and I'm going to redo it with the help of these guys. So as they've said in their packaging, it's nice packaging. They're a startup business in Brisbane. It is designed and assembled in Australia. You've got your QR code that you can scan to learn more. And it is a probe that you actually put into your compost. I'll also add some of their stuff in the story after tonight. There is one already talking a little bit about the product beforehand on Instagram, but again, linked down in the description below. This is the probe. So it's roughly that big. It sticks into your compost. It doesn't matter whether you have a pile, a bucket, whatever it is that your method is, stick it in there, and it measures the atmosphere, everything to do with your compost, and takes the guesswork out of it. It'll tell you what your compost needs. Add more dry material, add more green material, water your compost. So whether it's not breaking down because it doesn't have the right moisture, heat, and compounds in it, whether it's starting to smell, whether it is too wet and you need to somehow dry out or air your compost pile, then this is going to take the guesswork out of it. They are offering 5% off for any of the Rural Mum community, and that discount code and affiliate link is down in the description below. So jump on that. It hooks up to your mobile phone app and hopefully takes the guesswork out of it. Well, it will take the guesswork out of it, and that is what I'm going to be doing as part of my composting and homesteading down the path, down the future this spring when I'm reloading it. And that is why I bought it, because the climate here is so different and I'm not utilizing that compost as much as I should be and as much as I have previously before moving to the farm. So I'm really excited about that product. Did anyone have any questions that I missed? I'm just going to go through and see if anybody else had any questions along the way. I've got lots of waves. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. While I wait for any of the questions to come back through, I do think I have a lag again on this end. I did want to talk about, so this Thursday I have Jen McCutcheon coming up on the podcast and on the YouTube channel for So You've Married a Farmer, Now What? And the following week I am very, very excited as well to have Sally Warner. So you may have heard a little bit about her journey, her story on some of the recent interviews and book tours that she has done. She has written Not Just the Wife of the General Manager, and it is a memoir and a reflection on her 25 years up in the Northern Territory as a station wife and all the jobs and roles that are part of that. And she speaks a lot about the different stations that she's worked on over those 25 years, how it was moving to the farm, and how it was she was able to inspire herself and others since to being able to continue on that journey and get the best out of life. So a great read. I've linked her book in the description below as well. So jump on that if you want a copy to read before her interview comes out, or even once you hear her interview and want to know more about her story and more about her memoirs. I can recommend that book. I have read it and love it, and I really, really enjoyed my conversation with her as well. So that looks like it is us for tonight. So thank you everybody for your questions on Instagram. Thank you everybody for your questions here on the live tonight. I hope that I have answered everything as best that you can. And if you're enjoying these Tuesday chats or these replays, then please let me know, because I would love to do more of them if it's something that you are enjoying. If you think that they would be helpful to go onto the podcast platform, because at the moment they are on Instagram and on YouTube. So if you think it would be good for the podcast to have another episode come out every Tuesday, please let me know, and I will see you next time. Thank you.